Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our Lunch and Learn Friday session on STEM in the future. I'll start out by telling you a little bit about myself as your presenter this afternoon. My name is Judy Cashell, and I'm the Early Childhood Education Manager of the Pacific Clinic's Head Start program. I've been a Head Start manager in Head Start for over 30 years in 3 different programs. I'm also an adjunct professor at Pasadena City College in the Child Development Department, and I've been teaching there for 25 years. I have a master's degree from Bank Street College of Education in New York City, and I'm a lover of STEM. My love for STEM started 20 years ago, and it has been a long journey. And it started out with a project called Falling in Love with STEM. And so I'm very, very glad to be here today to share some of my journey with you and my work with the STEM Institute and Head Start West. So let's get started by looking at 3 key concepts that I've chosen to describe the importance of STEM in the future. As STEM educators, we need to nurture and protect children's innate natural curiosity. This provides strong foundation for future STEM learning. We know that young children are capable STEM learners in the present, in the here and now. And we know that early Head Start STEM experiences will help shape the minds of our next generation. Early childhood educators play a critical role in supporting science and math education to prepare a future workforce of STEM scientists and STEM leaders in the future. So we're going to be touching back and thinking about these key concepts throughout our presentation today. And I wanted to show you this example of understanding of how children, really young children, are capable right now of STEM learning. These are children who are maybe between the ages of 12 and 18 months in our early Head Start infant room, and they are actively exploring engineering. We know from research that babies test physical hypotheses. They systematically and intentionally explore their environments. They show their persistence, which scientists need to have, and they begin to make sense of what they find. All of these things are part of the scientific process, and babies are doing it here and now. So early STEM is not just a foundation for what they will continue to learn in school as STEM. It is not pre-STEM. They are actually learning STEM in the here and now through these experiences that we provide. We follow the guidance of Rachel Carson. She's one of the giants in education and awareness of the natural world. She says, if a child is to keep alive his inborn sense of wonder, he needs the companionship of at least one adult who can share it, rediscovering with him the joy, excitement, and the mystery in the world we live in. So let's stay inspired. Please remember, our job is to nurture and support curiosity, not crush it. We need to make sure that children have open-ended, explorative experiences, that we're not teachers who are giving answers, correcting children in their thinking, and that we are really valuing and appreciating their learning and their desire to learn. So let's start out with the research. It's so important for us to understand what current research tells us as educators, and then to put research into practice. So I wanted to introduce you to a research project called Early STEM Matters. It was written and conducted by an early childhood STEM working group. And so you can look into this. It's a wonderful report. And the researchers are from all over the country, the top researchers in early STEM education. And this research helps guide a discussion and change at a critical point in public discourse about the need for high quality early childhood education. We need high quality education, and STEM is part of the answer. The report entitled Early STEM Matters describes 4 guiding principles that reflect the philosophy about early childhood and STEM education. And I'm going to talk with you a little bit more about these 4 guiding principles today. It also includes 6 actionable recommendations for us to follow as leaders, policymakers at the local, state, and federal levels, researchers, and funders. So this report informs everyone invested in early STEM education. Let's look at the 4 guiding principles in early STEM matters. The first one is that children need adults to develop their natural STEM inclinations, and we just heard this from Rachel Carson. We know that adults are needed to guide, facilitate, inspire, and encourage and accept children's natural inclinations to learn. The second principle is representation and communication, which are central to STEM learning. Adults also, their beliefs and attitudes about STEM affect children's beliefs and attitudes about STEM. So what's really important here is that all teachers and adults start to develop or develop further a quote STEM identity, that's how we describe it, and openness to STEM and acceptance of STEM, that they feel competent as STEM educators, and that reflects on the children. This also addresses any biases that we have as educators, that we make sure that our beliefs and attitudes are clear and that children are benefiting from our own principles of understanding STEM education. And finally, STEM education is not culturally neutral. And we know that really well in Head Start because we have children from so many different cultural backgrounds. We need to make sure that we continue to be culturally sensitive and include the values and the experiences of children from all different cultures. So as we look to the future, we need to also take a look back at the history of the STEM Institute. And so I'm here to share some of this with you. I've been with the STEM Institute from the beginning. And so this is sort of a retrospective that I've tried to put together here to give you a little history of the STEM Institute. It began as a math and science institute actually in 2011, and it was a collaboration between the Center for Community and Family Services Head Start program and the Children's Center at Caltech. And I worked with the director of the Children's Center at Caltech, Susan Wood. She's a colleague of mine, and we worked together at Pasadena City College. And what we did was we hosted the very first institute. It was called the Math and Science Institute. The following year, it became the Early Childhood STEM Institute, and it was hosted by Region 9 Head Start Association. The STEM Institute celebrates this year our 15th year, and under the direction and leadership of Ed Condon, with the founders being the executive director of Pacific Clinic's Head Start, Wasi Tesfa, and Judy Cashell. It is now under the Head Start West. So what is the STEM Institute? It's an annual conference with speakers and keynotes, a panel of experts, a STEM curriculum fair, special tour events, and exhibit of vendors, and 3 days of early childhood STEM workshops. The event hosts up to 500 participants or more. And here you can see the teachers coming together to celebrate their STEM learning. It's an institute conference like no other. The people that come here are really excited about what they're doing, the learning that they're doing. It's very enthusiastic and uplifting, the STEM Institute. And then you also see the administrators of the STEM Institute from the beginning, Denise Cordova and Wasi Tesfa and myself. our vision, making it possible through our work and through the work of Ed Condon and the Head Start West team. So now let's talk a little bit about the themes of the Institute. And by themes, what we're talking about is so it's an idea or concept that we focus the Institute for that year around. For example, last year in 2025, our theme was STEM starts with curiosity. Other themes, Children as Innovators 2024, Children as Researchers 2023. So that helps us choose our keynote speaker and also decide on the proposals for the workshops and the presenters at our workshops as we discern and choose the presenters to come to the STEM Institute. I wanted to highlight one keynote address that uh, that really addressed this keynote that really struck me. And it was a keynote address in 2021 called Children as Explorers Dreaming Big, An Astronaut's Journey to the Stars. And this featured a former NASA astronaut, Jose Hernandez. And so he talked about his journey from being a migrant farm worker to a flight engineer on the space shuttle and the International Space Station. And what was really profound about his story is that he started as a Head Start child growing up in California. He talked about looking up at the stars at night and talking about how he wanted to be an astronaut. So the research is clear. When we say children are born scientists, we're not just being cute. They really are active scientists right now, systemically and intentionally exploring their environments, even from the day they're born. We know that we wouldn't have the quality and the stature of this STEM Institute if we weren't indeed standing on the shoulders of giants of STEM education. And so I wanted to recognize some of our keynote speakers who are these giants in early childhood education that have been a part of our institute, starting with Lillian Katz, Doug Clements, Bill Ritz, Richard Louvre, and Karen Worth, and all the others who have come and given their keynote addresses and inspired us and shared their expertise with us. These keynote speakers are researchers, authors, and educators, and it's important for us as teachers to have access to the expertise in the field. So we also run what's called a panel of experts session every year at the Institute. And I've listed the name of many of these experts here that come and sit on our panel of experts session. And they share their interests, their research, their publications, and they together sit around and answer questions such as how to prepare and support the early childhood education workforce to become leaders and advocates for early STEM education. And I've really been honored to facilitate this panel over the years. I've met so many amazing STEM educators, and I've been so pleased to be able to share them with the field of early education through the STEM Institute. So now I want to give you a little overview of a STEM Institute. And this is the Institute from 2024. Our keynote was Scott Shigeko. He's a curiosity expert, and he wrote a book, Seek, How Curiosity Can Transform Your Life and Change the World. That was very inspirational. And Wasi opened up the session, Wasi Tesfa, and we were celebrating the founding of the Institute by Wasi and Judy. And she was sharing her leadership and her role in making the STEM Institute possible. And then our theme that year was Children as Investigators. And so these are just a lot of us that were there who were celebrating. It really is a celebratory event, the STEM Institute. So within the STEM Institute, we have an event called the STEM Curriculum Fair, and the theme of that is Teachers Teaching Teachers. So what we have here in this year in 2024, We had teachers from 4 different Head Start grantees from around the region, and they ended up presenting a total of 18 STEM projects. And you can see they're standing in front of their display boards. They do their presentations with mics in front of everyone who comes to the curriculum fair event at the Institute. So this gives them the opportunity to present professionally in front of other teachers and administrators and coaches and whoever's coming to the Institute. For this one, we've always had the participation of SETA. I want to recognize them for their part in working to promote the STEM curriculum fair. And we had Daryl Greenfield, who was our keynote that year. And he came to the curriculum fair and he went around and he consulted with everybody that was presenting, including this group of family child care providers from our program. And you can imagine their delight at having that one-on-one consultation with Mr. Greenfield. And this is lifting them up in their profession. We had a parent present, and he was so excited about this STEM at home activity that we did called Building a Vehicle, and the Family Service Associate joined him to do this presentation. So it involves a lot of different people, including, of course, the classroom teachers. So the third thing I want to focus on for this from the STEM Institute is the panel of experts. And here you can just see our experts. There's a group of 4 of them with me. And in this session, they come from all over the country, Miami, Boston, Arizona, Nevada, and they're able to answer questions and from me as the facilitator, but also from anybody who's in the audience and participating to learn about the current ideas and approaches for STEM education. Inquiry-based learning is the key to early STEM education. STEM education is driven by children's innate curiosity and their exploration and desire to find out. So we need to be asking questions and wondering why. And teachers and parents use these teaching strategies to expand the possibilities for children to develop higher order thinking skills, very cognitive, but also very social and emotional. And these skills of higher order thinking include planning, questioning, analyzing, and reasoning. And so it is a celebration of higher order thinking skills through inquiry-based learning. Teachers, providers, and parents facilitate scientific reasoning and engage in observation and experimentation within many learning environments, whether it's the home, the family childcare, or in this classroom. Now let's talk about what is STEM identity. And STEM identity is being recognized more as having an impact on STEM learning and STEM teaching. So how do we build STEM identity and what is it? Well, we know that early childhood experiences with STEM help build STEM identity. So children understand that they can do these things and that the world invites them to explore, to discover, to interpret, to compare, to think, all of these STEM skills. Schools experiences with STEM. Children in kindergarten and elementary school need STEM education. This isn't something that we wait until they're older and then they'll get it, or they need to have this foundation and then they'll get it. This has to be ongoing, building their identity as competent, capable STEM learners and thinkers. We need teacher training in early STEM education. It needs to be ongoing and it needs to be relevant and it needs to be developmentally appropriate and inquiry based. Teachers learn how to take on the role of being an early STEM education trainer and coach. So that's another step up that they can make as they develop their STEM identity. And how can they do that? Well, 2 ways they could do that is either by attending the STEM Institute and possibly presenting at the curriculum fair. Some of the STEM Institute participants I have seen over the years have grown to become workshop presenters at national conferences themselves. Teachers often need to find a staff mentor. Where do you find these mentors to help support your STEM identity? Well, you can look at science education partnerships in your community, such as a botanical garden or a children's museum or science center. Or you can also look at the STEM Institute or NAEYC conferences or other conferences. So we constantly have to be thinking about how we as educators promote STEM identity in young children, not just ourselves, but in our children. Now I'm going to talk and give you a little bit of overview of the STEM curriculum fair, kind of like a how to do it guide a little bit. See that if you can understand a little bit more about what the things are that are entailed in the curriculum fair, and we invite you in the future to be involved in the curriculum fair. I'm going to talk about the definition, philosophy, how it's a model of professional development. I'm going to show you a toolbox of resources that we've created for programs to use to engage in the fair and develop their projects. And then I'm going to show you some of the program events and at the end, a teacher testimonial. What is the curriculum fair? It's a celebration of early STEM education and learning for young children ages birth to 5. And their teachers, families, and communities. So everybody's invited. This is very inclusive. It is a celebration. And the purpose of it is to showcase inquiry-based early STEM learning projects led by teachers who teach the teachers, and they're teaching everyone how important it is to raise the quality of STEM curriculum in ECE programs. So this is a picture of our in-house STEM curriculum fair in January. And there's teachers, home educators. There were different managers from the service areas of our program. We had providers there. We had community child development students there. And so we really were celebrating our teachers and what they're doing in STEM education. So the very first, in the beginning, first math and science curriculum fair originated in Santa Barbara, in the Santa Barbara Head Start program. I worked there with a education specialist named Deborah Kahn, who had us all doing curriculum fairs. And I saw that it was just a wonderful way to engage teachers in teaching each other. They have so much experience and so much knowledge, seeing children grow and develop. So from there, when we went to the math and science curriculum fair down in Pasadena, we held it as a simple event to share teaching ideas between two programs. So I've been working with the Children's Center at Caltech, and we created the first math and science curriculum fair in Pasadena. And celebrated the work of the gifted teachers, not just in our Head Start program, but at the Children's Center at Caltech. And we've learned a lot from Caltech. And I remember our keynote speaker that year was Bill Ritz from California State University, Long Beach, which has an amazing STEM teacher education program. If you're looking for resources for training your teaching staff, look to California State Long Beach. So how do teachers learn and grow at the curriculum through the curriculum fair? It is a professional development approach based on the knowledge and skills of teachers, where teachers teach teachers. Through the fair, teachers become the STEM experts. They are mentoring and coaching each other. They are presenting their ideas and curriculum in in the in the curriculum fair, and they're stepping into the future and learning cutting edge teaching practices from each other. This is an activity that's a part of the curriculum fair we call Walk About, Talk About. And it's an open-ended 20-minute session where teachers go around and just look at each other's boards and talk about and point things out and share ideas and take notes, and it's wonderful. Um, so for our curriculum fair and for our STEM curriculum, we use a project-based active learning with variety materials approach. So our teachers plan and implement long-term STEM projects based on the interests of the children. So we're not taking a theme out of a book. We're not looking at a prescribed project. It grows from what the children are interested in, and the teachers learn how to discern what the projects are going to be after spending time observing them, teaching them, finding out as a group what this group of children is interested in. And then children are engaged in various science and math activities based on their classroom projects, and they evolve. They have more than one activity in the project. If you're interested in this project-based approach, we recommend, or I recommend, the Young Investigators book by Judy Harris Helms and Lillian Katz, the project approach in the early years. And these are projects that we did this year in our Head Start and our early Head Start classrooms. I know you see engineering here, you see life science, and so they can be in any area. Engineering, they can be in any area of STEM education. The STEM Institute has been profoundly impacted by the work and the expertise and the writing and the research of Lillian Katz. Our projects, our approach is based on components of STEM education. It has an emphasis on science and inquiry-based learning. We are using class strategies as part of our STEM education teaching, such as concept development, advanced language, and other class domains. And we develop these projects as long-term curriculum projects. And so we, like I said, we are standing on the shoulders of giants in the field, and we listen to these experts, as Lillian said, provide lots of opportunity for children's natural curiosity to manifest itself. With very young children, our role is one of supporter and guide. So this was our in-house event here, and I just want to show you a couple more pictures of it. The teachers did an activity on ramps and paths in a home base, and in our early Head Start, they did a presentation on shoes, a project on shoes. This is the curriculum event at the Institute. And I just want to show you some of the topics, spiders and their webs. And of course, this was kind of curious because the kids were studying spiders and webs, but we certainly didn't want to have spiders and webs on our climbers outside. So we investigated them when we found them, but then we also had to relocate the spiders because, but it was a great opportunity for children to learn about, nature and life science in our preschool classroom. And then there was a focus on this next project on sound, and this with our home educators focusing on sensory and sound with the early Head Start young children. The bottom pictures are various grantees presenting from SETA Head Start and Communify in Santa Barbara. This teacher was being very curious and exploring his project, which was all on boxes. He just brought a whole bunch of boxes and talked about all the projects that they did for their curriculum fair. STEM is the study of the real world. Through STEM, children learn about nature, ecology, and math, and the future of our children really depends on knowledge and care for the environment, ecology, and it's all tied into the math learning. So you see our projects are really geared towards STEM with wind and exploring uh, soil and even fabrics. The teachers got into how things are woven and how materials made based on what the children were interested in. This is a family child care provider, Nona Shananyan from Pacific Clinics Head Start. This provider took a big step, went right into the institute, stood up and presented in front of a whole group of people on light and rainbows. And this is a physics presentation. She was nervous, but she did a fantastic job. And look at her documentation board. This is shows that the capacity for our staff and our teachers to teach and learn STEM and have a strong STEM identity is very good, and we can build on this. I'm so proud of her. So now I'm going to quickly go through this Padlet toolbox. We've made this Padlet available to you so you can use some of these forms and processes to create your project approach curriculum fair. I'm going to talk a little bit about the ones I'm going to show are webbing, lesson plans, and uh, the display boards. So this is the planning web. Each teaching group or classroom starts with planning. I'm sure many of you are familiar with this process. It's very founded in the project approach and emergent curriculum. So this is a project on earthworms, and we use this to help teach the teachers about how to do a project. We developed a sample STEM curriculum fair display board guide, and because we wanted all of the displays to be consistent so that they could read well when they're in the event, and with the project title, documentation in the center panel, focus picture, summary statement of what was investigated, questions that the teachers asked the children or that the children wanted to know. Also, a connection to the family engagement, homeschool learning part of the project, and the connection to the early Head Start, ELOF, the Early Learning Outcomes Framework, and then also some guidance on what to put. There's a display area, what to put in the display area in front on the table, samplings of children's work related to the project, resources that they used, and any other related children's books or things that aligned with the project. And so most of the projects follow these display boards, which we provide, and we give them coaching and feedback on. They're very creative, and they've taken them to share with parents at parent meetings, and everybody loves these display boards. Nobody wants to get rid of them after the fair. This represents their expertise in teaching. They write activity lesson plans that they may have several of these for a project. It's not just a single activity that they're doing, but it's an in-depth lesson plan with objectives, concepts, and these are reviewed by our coaches and our supervisors. We give feedback and support to our teachers so that they can get the materials and the support they use for their projects. Then we take these lesson plans and we copy them and we put them in a book. And you can see this spiral bound book here. We make this in-house. We just take the lesson plans from every project of every classroom and we copy them. We put a nice cover on it and we give it out to every classroom. So basically what we're doing is writing our own STEM curriculum. And we have one of these every year, and we're very proud of them. We can share them with our parents. We can share them with new teachers coming in. And we at the curriculum fair at the Institute, we've been able to share the lesson plans from all the teachers from the different grantees that participate. So then we have a STEM Institute curriculum fair book of lesson plans. So we're really trying to work this to bring in STEM educators from all over Region 9, or what we now know as Head Start West. at our STEM Institute, and we do raffle off fun activity materials and sets of mathematical learning materials and other door prizes and things that we're using to promote STEM education, things that we've found currently, and so we can share those kind of ideas. This is the last piece of this. This is the brochure that we give out when we're having a curriculum fair. We have a nice cover on it, what you see on the right-hand side. And this was the fair of 2017. And on the back side of it, it showed the different grantees that participated and gave them acknowledgement. Inside this program, we listed the schedule of the event, which is about 3 hours. It's celebratory. And then we listed all of the Head Start presenters and early Head Start presenters with the name of their projects, the name of the teachers, and then this was what we followed when they did their presentations on that morning. I really wanted to include this teacher testimonial. I got to know Sarah Feeling, who was a teacher at Kids Count, Early Head Start, and this is what she had to say after presenting at a STEM Institute curriculum fair. She said, "I'm an infant toddler teacher. This will be my 19th year in the field. We have heard of preschoolers documenting their daily activities in print, but what about toddlers? They lack the skills to write the words needed for documentation. Can children under the age of 3 capture documentation of their own? The answer is yes, they can. With the proper tools such as cameras, they're able to document their learning in play, daily routines, and interactions with peers." Sarah. So this is her outstanding project presentation on technology with toddlers. This is very cutting edge. I mean, she was so excited. I think she even included a little PowerPoint and with this, and maybe even some little interviews, and it was just so insightful and so creative. This is the kind of inspiration that our teachers need, especially somebody who's been in the field for 19 years. And I think now she's working at a higher level in education. I don't know if she's still teaching, but she is still an educator and working with working with children and programs. There are many other teacher testimonials. I just picked out one that I thought was especially insightful to share with you. So one way to build your STEM education program is to look for and develop a partnership with an informal education agency. And what is an informal education agency? These are agencies in your community that are not schools, but they do educate. And we call them informal education. And so we have a partnership with the Descanso Gardens. We did a 5-year partnership with them and their education manager, and they have a program for field trips and habitats with native plants and animals in the garden. So that's a local garden that we learned from, and they've done training with our teachers, and we've gone to the gardens to learn. Also, the Children's Center at Caltech, which is the EC STEM Professional Development Opportunities, they have their own program of training for teachers, and we partnered with them. We also have partnered with Carnegie Science Center to learn about the Carnegie STEM Excellent Pathway, and that's a tool that you can use. It's free to evaluate your STEM program in your agency. So this is a way for us to evaluate our program and improve on it, very much aligned with Head Start performance standards. Now, I just want to show you a few pictures here about things that we've done this year with STEM, STEM, science. We released monarch butterflies. Probably many of you do this. This is in our infant toddler center. It's a brand new center, and we were so excited by this. We want to make sure, like next year, we can do the butterfly launch in all of our classrooms. I'm sure many of you think about this and do this. But I think life science is a gateway into STEM because teachers really readily understand and have experience with planting seeds and growing things and collecting artifacts from nature. So life science is a great way into uh, to STEM. And of course, we want to include other types of science like physical science and um, earth science. Technology here again is this is our infant room where the children are exploring light sources and shadows. And this is electronic technology, but we know that non-electronic technology is all over our environments. We need to understand what it is and how we use it and how we create it and how it helps us solve problems. Sometimes when people think of technology, they just think of a tablet. But when you study STEM education, you'll see that that there are many, many technologies that are non-electronic in our lives. Engineering is an area that sometimes people are like, well, the other parts of STEM, I'm more familiar with what is engineering, but our children are natural at this. They know exactly what to do with little pieces of wood. These are toddlers building their towers and their enclosures. And what I really love about these pictures, this is again in our toddler program. The child on the left, of course, is at the earlier stage where children start by building towers up. That's what they do with blocks. They start to stack them and build up. Then, after they've had a few more experiences with blocks, they will start creating enclosures. And you can see these steps up in development. This is the stages of block building. And after they've got the enclosures going, the next step up from there is to create symbolic play with them, as this child has done, and has animals and is probably telling stories about what's happening in and around the enclosures, the inside, the outside, the spatial understanding. And so these, engineering is really promoted as children develop. And there's many more activities and things like this you can do for engineering. And then the last one is math. And math has a special place of STEM. It is the language of science. Whenever you're doing science, you're probably going to be using a ton of math. Um, and and I also see it as the gateway to STEM because it is involved and integrated into all the other disciplines, whether it's science, technology, or engineering. Math is there, and it's also a very tactile beginning skill. Children learning to count on their fingers, children learning numbers, and figuring out what shapes are and how to compare measurement. These are things that are just very much at the heart of STEM education. And so we want to have a lot of math experiences for our young children. And you know what the research shows, Greg Duncan shows that early math experiences predict higher outcomes in early literacy reading. So what does that mean? That means if children have a lot of math exposure, that it supports their future ability to learn to read and to become literate. So when we know this, why are we not doing more math? So I really do believe in research into practice, and I like to share that bit of research to inspire us to think and put the priority on math. Okay, so how do teachers get ready to teach? Are we STEM ready? This is the name of a program that I created at the Pacific Clinic's Head Start. It is a STEM professional development teacher training program. It's called STEM Ready. And as educators, what do we need? We need to invest our time in teacher training. We need to commit to build STEM knowledge and skills. We need to develop our own STEM identity as educators. We need to plan long term for our early childhood program design to allow for STEM and to promote STEM, and we need to involve families. So you can see here that this is a 3-day STEM training program. It's offered by Pacific Clinic's Head Start, and we had teams of teachers come from different grantees for this 3-day hands-on training. In the first picture here, they're doing engineering and tinkering, and inventing things. And in the middle picture, they're doing math. They're studying shapes with something simple like string. Um, but it got much more complex than that when they were doing data collection, and then even some technology with some little B-bots. And then we did go out to the garden, and we studied life science there. So this training program can really help leverage the STEM in your program. And I know SETA has found that it moved them forward, and other programs as well. So if you're interested in this, you can look into this, or there are many other STEM training programs, I think, that are becoming available. So I wanted to talk about STEM as a way to promote greater class scores, because we have seen this outcome. And what we have seen is that STEM teaching increases instructional support scores. And we know everybody is working to comply and to strive to reach a quality threshold level of 3.0 with class, and especially in the area of instructional support. STEM has a huge impact on the instructional support aspects of defined by class. For example, concept development, that's a STEM cornerstone, and it's key to instructional support and cognitive learning. And the behaviors and the benchmarks under concept development are analysis and reasoning, creating, investigating, and connection to the real world. So we see that concept development is closely aligned with STEM education. Also, especially under instructional support, is the language modeling aspect of learning by having open-ended questions as part of the teaching strategies, and also advanced language and vocabulary, which are a big part of STEM education. So we have seen this in our program, and I encourage you to think about how this can impact your increasing class scores, but also to raise the quality of your instruction in the area of the cognitive domain. So now we're at the end. We are looking at the future. And so our early childhood STEM mission for the future is to go boldly where no one has ever gone before, with a spirit of exploration and have fun.